From Spamtown, USA, Austin, Minnesota, this is the Austin Bruins Coaches Show. We break down the big hits, the spectacular saves, and the clutch goals with the men behind the bench. Get the inside scoop with exclusive insight, strategy, and stories from your Austin Bruins coaches. And now, here's your host, David Coyer, alongside Bruins head coach Steve Howard.
It was an exciting Paint the Rink Pink weekend. Once again, the Austin Bruins have now won 8 straight in a row, and here to break it down with me is our head coach, Steve Howard. Steve, you've been here for so many Paint the Rink Pink nights. This was another great one. What did you think of all the festivities this weekend?
Yeah, obviously it was great. As a coach, I think one of the main things I worry about is winning the game. Yeah. It's a scenario for the players that, it's for a great cause. Obviously, the community came out, and it was a packed house. We raised a lot of money for Paint the Rink Pink and for the Hormel Institute, which is the main goal there. It's bigger than hockey. It's something that, I think everybody in this world's trying to fight for right now is find a cure for all of the different types of cancers. But more importantly for me, I just wanted to make sure the guys understood why they were playing and what they were doing out there. But at the same time, I didn't want to distract them too much from playing and actually focusing on executing in the game and winning the game, which they did a great job of. We got a good group this year. We got an older group, and I thought they did a great job. And some kids can get a little nervous about having to go out and perform afterwards. And I think there were a couple of guys that were nervous, but it was nice that they were able to shut that out until after the game, and obviously do a good job with that after.
Another sold-out crowd here at Riverside Arena, and it felt sold out. And, the sold-out crowd was treated to a big 6-2 victory on Saturday and a couple of fights, which, of course, I know our fans here in in Austin love. But overall, 2 wins against the St. Cloud Norsemen last weekend. Maybe a couple of slow starts for the team on Friday and Saturday, but ended up getting the 4 points. What did you see from the team this weekend?
Yeah, it's one of those deals where you got to kind of find a way to win each game, and you hear all the coaches say that and the good teams talk about it. But Friday I thought we came out a little flat. In the first period it was pretty much back and forth, and in the second period we had a couple power plays that kind of created some momentum for us, and we were able to kind of hold them down in their end and pin them down, which led to a third period where I think the Norsemen only had 1 shot, and that was kind of for us. It's what we want to do. We want to suffocate teams. We want to make sure that we're playing in their end, and I thought we did a great job in that third period, and we were able to come out on top. But it wasn't pretty by any means, but we found a way, and we came in on Saturday and we found ourselves chasing the game a little bit again, and we had some controversial goals there. One counted, one didn't count, and then it was just like, we ended up starting to roll a little bit, and we got a few more goals in, and kind of set the pace for the rest of the game, and I thought the guys did a great job. So
Simon Marshanock extending his point streak to 26 straight games and getting his first hat trick, which when you look at his stats, the fact that he's had so many 3, 4, 5-point games this year and hasn't had a hat trick, I think is just kind of shocking when you really, really think about it for the great season that he's had. But last week, trade deadline for the North American Hockey League. This week, roster freezes, so it's kind of the Bruins lineup is kind of set now, and you made a couple of trades last week, so we're here to break some of those down. First off, one guy who helped get the ball rolling on Friday, Kyle Sorensen, acquired from the Oklahoma Warriors in a trade that sent Nolan Davis and Trace Day down to Oklahoma City. Kyle came in 25 goals on the season with the Warriors, which was good for 4th in the North American Hockey League, scored on Friday. What made Kyle a target that you wanted to bring to Austin, and seeing that he's already made an immediate impact, what do you think he'll do going forward?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. I'll be honest, I wanted to sign Kyle a couple of years ago. He ended up choosing a different team, which is okay, and he actually had a couple of different stops before he ended up in Oak City. So he's a great kid. I've done my research on him, and the fact that he had 25 goals. He was in top 5 in the league in goals So it was kind of a scenario for me where I also looked at his birth year and understanding that he's an '06 and there's a chance and potential for us to have him back next year. It was the right move, I think, in my eyes, to bring that kid in and set us up for the next year and a half potentially. And so our staff all talked about it, and we were able to come up with a trade that still put Oak City, I think, in a good spot. We love Trace. He's been here with us for just over a year now, and I think for Trace, he needed to be in a top line position, and for him to go down there and immediately be on their first power play and on the top line, I think it helps him to finish out the year strong. Not to mention Oak City still fighting for a playoff spot down there, so he can be a big part of that. And the Davis situation, they wanted two, and they wanted a younger defenseman to come in. And for Davis, we could see like we're hopefully going to get some injuries back here soon, and he might not get as much ice time here, whereas down there he can start to build himself up for the next 2 years. And so it kind of made sense for them to grab those two guys. And at the end of the day, I think it's a win-win for everybody, and we're really happy right now with Kyle and how he performed the first weekend.
And Nolan and Trace both with South Division experience. Trace coming to the Bruins last season from the Amarillo Wranglers. Nolan joining us from the Lone Star Brahmas earlier this year. Another trade that happened that same day as acquiring Kyle is Jake Spray sent to Chippewa for a draft pick. How did that trade come about?
Yeah, we've had some guys reach out. Jake's got a really good advisor, and he gets it. Used to be a coach, and so having said that, we've presented some opportunities for Jake just because he was in his second year. A lot of guys step into their second year and they immediately take off. And unfortunately, we had 9 20-year-olds playing in front of Jake this year, and that was a tough spot for him to be in. The kid's super fast. He's got a jetpack on his back is what we like to say. He's got a great shot, and confidence is probably the biggest thing, and it's tough to have confidence when you're not getting a ton of ice time or playing on one of the special teams units. And so we presented it a couple of times to him, and to be honest with you, it was more so the advisor was getting a lot of calls, and they were looking at possibly bringing him in. And for me, I love the kid. I didn't want to move him, right? And Jake actually turned down a couple opportunities, wanted to stick around here, which, is great. I love hearing that. And we want guys to want to be a Bruin, the entire time they're here. But at the end of the day, like, the deadline was coming up, and for his own hockey career, for his own, just like we talked about with Trace Day, like, you need to go somewhere and be put in a spot that you probably deserve to be in your second year. So, we kind of made the tough decision to send him down there. I think he agreed. Like, I think he was 50-50 and on the fence with wanting to go but wanting to stay. And, Chippewa's in a spot right now where the guys are playing for next year. And they told me that Jake was going to come right in, step right into a top role. And so, once again, for his own playing career and obviously setting him up for next year as an 06, it should be a good thing for him to go there and play a lot.
And obviously this is the league of opportunity and, getting those guys on to the next level, so always having to look out for that. Obviously you want to win here in Austin, but you also want to look out for what's going on with these kids in their career, make sure they get to that next level, which obviously very important. And then another big trade, adding even more scoring depth to the scoring depth that the team already has. Carter McKay was an alternate captain for the Shreveport Mudbugs. He has over 120 games played in the North American Hockey League. He acquired for a couple of assets sent down to Shreveport. He's made an impact down there, been battling an injury for part of this season, has only played 19 games this year, but in those 19 games, earned a South Division First Star of the Week when he had a hat trick against Corpus Christi back in October. Talk about Carter and what you think he brings to this already deep scoring offense.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. The depth is what we were looking for. He's in his 5th year of junior hockey. He played 2 years in the SJ. He played 2.5 years down with Shreveport. And, I know that Jason Soupy Campbell is the coach down there, and he's one of his favorite players he's coached. And so, Soupy called me directly because, honestly, Carter just kind of saw that, hey, this is my last year. Unsure how these next few weeks are going to go in Shreveport. They're in the same spot as Oak City. They're close to a playoff spot. They might have even actually earned, gotten into the top 6 or down there. But I'm not real sure on how all that works with the South Division only having 8 teams this year. Colorado dropped out last year, so they might be the top 4. But they're all close. They're within striking distance. But, I think for Carter, I think it was a tough deal to go in and ask for a move to one of the teams that have a chance this year, and especially with one of his favorite coaches. He's made that clear that he's going to continue to talk to Jason Campbell throughout the rest of his life. And, Soupy's a great guy. And so, once again, we got the deal done to get Carter here. I think it just sets us up for a long run, and we're hoping those guys can perform and execute and understand that we're deep, and it's next man up mentality. Some guys are going to have great nights, and that's when you sit back and you watch. But when those guys aren't having such a good night, we need somebody else to step up and find us a way to win, just like we did on Friday.
And you talked about the Bruins defense having a few injuries, which is why, adding the likes of Nolan Davis, Cameron McCormick over these last couple of months, but adding a big defensive name on the backside, the final acquisition near the end of the week last week, Bobby Williams, who has close to 100 games played in junior hockey, played for the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders of the USHL last year, but more recently playing up in Canada in the WHL with the Calgary Hitmen. How did that come about? And not a trade, more just an acquisition, but what does Bobby bring to the team, and how did that acquisition come about?
Yeah, no, we were working on it early January. Unfortunately, basically what happened was we were trying to get him. We were getting set up to bring him down, and then another team in that league who used to actually be in the NA, the Wenatchee Wild, are now in the WHL. They picked him up. They tried to add him to the roster. I think they were okay to do it from the WHL, but Hockey Canada wouldn't allow it at that time. I think their roster freeze had already happened or whatnot. I don't really understand all of it up there, but he was. They were still trying to get it done for the last couple of weeks, and or towards the end of January, and we found out it didn't quite happen, and he circled back with us to see if this was still an option, and we were able to get it done. But unfortunately, that was where we had to let Cam McCormick go, who great kid, really liked him. He came in and did a great job for us the last 5 games that he played, and having said that, wish him the best, and I know he went back to his team, Granite City, and they're gearing up for a long playoff run themselves.
So you put on that director of hockey ops hat to kind of make all these trades, make all these acquisitions. What challenges do you tend to face, when you're getting to this trade deadline roster freeze, when you're kind of looking at your roster, a roster that had already put the Bruins in first place this year, but looking to see what additions can you make to try and make this a team that can make a long Robbie Cup run?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they still got to perform. They got to win games. But, the depth is, and I continue to go back to it, we, as a staff, we all talked, and when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, when it gets down to the third period in a tight game, are we still able to roll lines? And I think that, there's a lot of teams in the regular season that can win games with their top 2 lines, or maybe even their top 3 lines. But that depth when you're going on a long run, especially if you have to play a best-of-5 series or a lot of games all in a small period of time, that helps. And there's injuries that happen. There's certainly games where, and we've had quite a few of them where, maybe not everybody was on. And, that's where I've always talked about. I want to have 4 first lines, and I want to have, top 4 defensemen, all top 4 veteran defensemen on the back end. And I feel like we do that now. And, with Solo and Jack Solomon and Cody Buticus, I probably should say their real names. Everybody knows.
Everyone knows him as Solo at this point. He's been here 2 years.
Solo and Beauty in the back. Yeah, those guys are our backbone, and once again, same issue. We want to set ourselves up that, hey, if one guy's not on or one guy gets sick, the other one's stepping up. And that was the way we looked at it this year. I'm not one to make big moves and go all in like that, but I think at the same time we got a good group here, and to add those pieces and those additions, they just make sense. So those are three key additions for us, and we're excited to see how they perform here coming up.
And coming up, the Bruins facing the North Iowa Bulls in a home-and-home series this weekend. A late start time on Friday, 8 p.m. down in Mason City, and then 7:05 puck drop here on Saturday against the North Iowa Bulls. Valentine's Day, you can get buy one, get one free tickets over at tickets.austinbruins.com when you use the promo code LOVE. So bring out that special someone. What better Valentine's Day gift than some Bruins hockey? I'm sure your wife's going to be here this weekend and, spending Valentine's Day at the rink, probably the best place she wants to be, right? Going down to North Iowa, haven't seen them since Thanksgiving. And, we talked earlier in the season, seeing the Bulls 6 times in the first half of the season and then having that long break. And you said you kind of like when you're playing those teams a little bit close together because then you know at least what to expect. But now it's been a couple of months. Have you noticed any differences when you guys have been preparing for the Bulls? They're a little bit of a different team. They've got some new personnel. So what have you really been noticing from them?
Yeah, that's it right there. They're a little bit of a different team. But then again, so are we.
Yeah.
And I think after Christmas, I always talk about it in the first half. After Christmas, this league is really good. There's a lot of teams. They understand the structure of their coach and what systems they're playing. There's not a lot of mistakes on the ice, and the chances you were getting early on sometimes don't happen in the second half, and those are playoff-style games. It's about executing. It's about taking advantage of maybe your power play opportunity, or were you the team that scored a couple on your grade A chances, and what do they look like? Were you similar in that aspect or that category, or was the one team dominant and spending most of the time in your end? That's what we really judge as coaches. But going into this weekend, we have no idea. We have to execute. We got to try to play our game. And, I know they got some guys over there that can make plays. They can score goals. And if you get caught looking at the puck as a defenseman, you're probably going to find your jockstrap in the rafters. They're going to make you look dumb and walk you. And that's how they score a lot of their goals. They have some really, really good skill over there. I thought Bruno's done a good job. That's their coach. He's done a good job this year and winning some games, put himself in a spot to hopefully get into the playoffs this year, and that's the way we gotta look at it. This could be potentially the first round of playoffs, and between them and Watertown, and heck, even the St. Clouds and the Minots, they're all trying to get to that fourth spot. So we got a target on our back. I expect to get their best. We got to give them ours, and that's what our mentality is for the next few months.
North Iowa currently tied for the 4th place spot in the Central Division. Watertown does have 3 games in hand, so they do have a better points percentage, so they technically are currently that 4th team in the Central Division playoff right now, a spot that they had held since November before North Iowa took it over. It's kind of been a little bit back and forth in these couple of weeks, so North Iowa, very difficult team to face this weekend, and we'll see them both in Mason City and here at Riverside Arena. And then right after that, we're hopping on a flight to Michigan for the Top Prospects Tournament next weekend. I know we've made those announcements on social media, but for fans who aren't familiar with it, what is the Top Prospects Tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's primarily for the players that don't have a college commitment yet. And when I say that, Division I commitment. So it's an all-star event for those kids, for those players. And I get to be the head coach for the Central team. Along with Garrett Roth is going to be my assistant. We finished 1 and 2 in the division when they froze the standings back in January 18th. And so what we did is all the teams got to pick some of their 05s to go and nominate them. And then we got to pick the team. And so, yeah, we got Nathan Williams on that team. And then we got Mikey Coleman and E.J. Paddington are all going to be on that team. And then from there, we all got to nominate some other guys that might be able to go from our team, and we just sent them into the league. And so they picked they picked a few teams that are basically a younger group. So on Selects Blue, we didn't actually send him, but the Oklahoma City sent Kyle Sorensen, so he's going to be playing, but he'll be, obviously representing our team too. And then Alvin Ellison will also be on that team. And then on Selects Red, we'll have Gus Albert and Sam Klein. So we got 7 players going. It's a pretty big deal for those guys. Once again, it's kind of like an all-star event. They do have 8 teams in this thing, which is pretty big. It's for the scouts and the colleges to come out and watch. I think Selects Blue and Selects White. We don't have a guy on Selects White, but those 2 teams will end up playing against the U.S. Development Program while we're there. We're playing at their arena in Plymouth, Michigan, and it's always a great event for me when I get to go back from Michigan, and I'll get to have some dinner and things like that with my parents and my brother and my sister-in-law. So looking forward to seeing everybody when I go back, and more importantly, it's to get these guys some more exposure here towards the second half of the season.
You've been hyping up those Coney dogs, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's what he's excited for. But the tournament starts Monday, 12:30 Eastern Time, 11:30 Central. It's Selects Blue versus, I think it's Selects Red. I should probably know the schedule off the top of my head, but I was looking at it before. But I know Selects Blue plays at that 12:30 game on Monday, so check out Kyle Sorensen, Alvin Ellison. A great tournament. Bruins were well represented last year, well represented this year as well. But this weekend, before the Top Prospects Tournament, come on out, see the Bruins take on the North Iowa Bulls here on Saturday, 7:05 puck drop. Again, Valentine's Day, buy one, get one free tickets if you use the promo code LOVE at tickets.austinbruins.com. Well, playoffs are just on the horizon. Bruins in a pretty good spot in first place, but still a lot left to go, and we've got a lot of season left. But, Coach, as always, thanks for coming on, taking a look at the team, and, of course, breaking down some of those trades for us.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you this weekend at Riverside Arena. If you can't make it, well, tune in to N8 TV. I'll be on the call for both games. And Friday, head on over to the official road game destination of your Austin Bruins, Lansing Corners. They'll have the game on. But until next time, I've been David Coyer. He's Steve Howard. This has been another edition of the Austin Bruins Coaches Show. We'll see you next time.